Hello my first grade friends, and welcome to your math video for Thursday, April 2nd on composite shapes. So a composite shape is a two-dimensional shape that is made up of two or more shapes put together. Remember, our two-dimensional shapes are our flat shapes, meaning you can only see one side of them. So on the first page that we're going to look at, it's page 661 in your math book. And normally we would be using our attribute shapes with this page, but since we are at home, all we need to do is just draw lines in for today. So let's look at our examples that we have here. We have two white composite shapes, and they are asking us to figure out which two-dimensional shapes are making up the composite shape. So the first example at the top has a trapezoid. So we need to figure out how many trapezoids are going to make up this composite shape. So if we look at our trapezoid, we know that a trapezoid has 4 sides and 4 vertices. And if I draw a line across the center of this hexagon, then we see we have 2 trapezoids now. So for this shape, we can take 2 trapezoids, put them together to make a hexagon. So I am going to write a number 2 on this line because 2 trapezoids make our hexagon. Okay, now we have a trapezoid as our composite shape, and it's asking us how many triangles do we need to make this trapezoid. So if we think about a triangle has 3 sides and 3 vertices. Now all of our shapes don't have to be going in the same direction. So here I am going to make one slant line here to finish one side of my triangle. And then I'm also going to make another slant line on the other side to finish off the other triangle. And then if we count, we have 1, 2, 3 triangles making up this trapezoid. So I'm going to put a number 3 here to show that we can take 3 triangles, flip one of them upside down, and have the 2 of them going right side up to make a trapezoid. Now let's do a couple of examples together. So we're going to use 2 pattern blocks to make each shape. So we're going to draw a line to show our models and then circle the blocks that we're going to use. Let's look at number 1. Number 1, the composite shape that we are making is a rectangle. So here are our choices to choose from. So we have a diamond. Remember, a diamond is just a square that's being turned on its side. We have a square, we have another square, and then we have a trapezoid. So we need 2 of these shapes to make a composite shape with this rectangle. And the only 2 shapes that are going to fit in here correctly are the 2 squares. So I'm going to draw one line down the center of my rectangle. And then once we do that, we can see our rectangle is now divided into 2 equal sides. So there are our 2 squares. So now I'm going to circle my 2 squares in the example. So those are the 2 shapes that we used. All right, let's look at number 2. So we have a big triangle here for number 2 as our composite shape. So we have to choose 2 of our smaller 2-dimensional shapes that are going to fit inside of this big triangle to make the composite shape. So we have a square, a triangle, a trapezoid, and a diamond. We also call a parallelogram. So we could use our diamond. We could try and fit this in here, but then we don't have enough other shapes in order to fill in the rest of this triangle. So I am actually going to use the triangle and the trapezoid, and I'm going to draw one line across the center, make that a little bit more straighter. So now you can see here is the triangle on the top, and here's my trapezoid at the bottom. So these are our 2 smaller shapes that we used to make our composite shape. All right, now it's your turn. Let's go over the directions together first. So let's look at number 3 and number 4. You need to use 2 pattern blocks to make each shape. Draw a line to show your model and circle the blocks you use. Remember, since we're at home, we don't have these pattern blocks to use at home, but all you need to do is draw in lines for your examples. So let's look at number 5 and 6. Now we're going to pick 2 of the pattern blocks shown to make a composite shape. This is the fun part. You get to make your own shape. You're going to draw the shape and then circle the blocks that you use. Remember, use straight lines as much as you can. It's not going to be perfect, and I don't expect it to be perfect. And I will share a couple of examples with you that I am going to choose, but please remember to try and do your own first and don't just copy what I'm going to write. Okay, here are your answers for the On My Own section. So for number 3, the 2 pattern blocks that we need to choose are the trapezoid and the hexagon. So the line that we need to draw is the line that's going in between the hexagon and the trapezoid. Those are the 2 shapes that fit inside of that composite shape. Number 4, our choices are a square, a trapezoid, triangle, and a parallelogram. So if we look at this composite shape, it kind of looks like a house. So when we try and draw a house ourselves, or we're using blocks during free time when we are making a house, we know that there are 2 common shapes that we use to make a house, and those are squares and triangles. So here I'm going to make my line here in the shape, and now you can see the triangle on top and the square on the bottom. All right, now's the fun part. Making your own composite shape. So I'm going to choose 2 shapes here. I am going to choose the 2 triangles. And I'm going to draw my composite shape down here as best as I can. Remember, your lines don't have to be perfect. So here is my first triangle. I'm going to start with my triangle going right side up. And then my second triangle, I'm going to flip it and make it go upside down. So now I've kind of made a diamond or a parallelogram here. If we were to take this shape and turn it right side up, we would see that it would be a square. So there is my first example for my own composite shape that I made. So for number 6, we have some different choices here for number 6. We have 1 triangle, a square, a trapezoid, and then our parallelogram or diamond. So this time I am going to choose, let's see, I'm going to do the trapezoid and the square. So first I'm going to put my trapezoid on the bottom this time. And remember, make your lines as straight as you can. They're not going to be perfect. So there's my trapezoid. And now here's my square. And there is my composite shape. So again, please make sure that you choose something different from what I did. There are quite a few choices that you can do here, and there is no right or wrong answer when you're making a composite shape. Just make sure that one side of the shape, of the first shape, I should say, is touching one side of the second shape. A composite shape has to have a side touching in order for it to be considered one larger shape. All right, let's do some problem solving questions together. So our directions are to answer the questions and to draw lines to show our work. So here's number 7. Number 7 says, circle the pattern block that can be used 2 times to make this shape. So in other words, we're going to use the same shape for this one twice. So here are our choices. We have a triangle, parallelogram, a trapezoid, a hexagon, and a square. So if we look at this shape, there is only one shape that is going to fit here, and that is our trapezoid. So if we look at this shape, we can see that we have our longer side on the bottom, and then we have our shorter side here in the middle, and this trapezoid is just turned upside down. So here are slant sides, and we know that of the shapes that we talked about before, there was only one shape that had slanted sides, and that was the trapezoid. We didn't start talking about the hexagon until today. So we need to circle trapezoid here to show that this is the shape that we used. Okay, number 8. How many of these half circles does it take to make a whole circle? So we're going to get into this a little bit more later on, but we know that we can take one line and split this circle in half right down the middle to make 2 equal parts. So we need 2 halves in order to make one whole circle. So on the line, we're going to put a number 2. So you can think of this as a pizza. If you were going to eat one half of the pizza and your friend was going to eat the other half of the pizza, all you would need to do is to take one line, go straight down the middle of your pizza in order to divide it into 2 equal parts. Remember the My Homework page you can use for extra practice, especially if you want some more practice with drawing these composite shapes. Remember, we are using the composite shapes that we have talked about already. We are using the triangle, the trapezoid, the square, and the circle. We also added in today the parallelogram or the diamond and the hexagon. So please make sure that you spend some time practicing these shapes and making different composite shapes. And if you have shapes at home, see if there's anything different that you can make other than the shapes that we did today. Remember, if you have any questions, please have your parents send me an email. You can pause this video, replay this video as many times as you need, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, friends.